why do people clap and raise their hands during singing? Now, again, there may be a number of reasons why you're asking this question. Maybe you're put off when you're in a church environment and the person next to you is kind of slapping you in the face because they're so exuberant in their worship. Maybe you feel physically uncomfortable with doing that. If we look at how different cultures express themselves emotionally, we will see that some cultures, whether it's in church or whether there's any other reason to sing, when they're singing, they're dancing, they're clapping, they're exuberant, their kind of body, mind, soul, and spirit are all engaged in this process. Whereas many kind of people who come from more of a Western culture, or maybe more stoic in how we do things, we kind of want to celebrate in our hearts, or at least we think we do. We'll get to that in a second. And so maybe we're less exuberant, and depending on where you're coming from, you're feeling uncomfortable. You've got some questions around this. So is this just a cultural thing? Tomato, that if that's your background, if that's what you're comfortable with, then go for it. But otherwise, if not, then don't. While there is that dynamic, I definitely think there's more to this. And the first thing that makes me think that is the Bible talks about it. And in fact, the Bible encourages us to do this. The Bible talks about different physical postures that express our worship to God. Talks about clapping our hands. Talks about shouts of joy. Talks about us raising our hands. Talks about us kneeling or being in various postures of humility. It even describes someone sitting at the back of the synagogue, beating their chest, unable to look up to heaven. But what you see there is a congruency between what is going on inside of them and their physical posture. So why does the Bible speak so clearly about that? Is that just because it's culturally the Middle East, and maybe this is one of those cultures that are more expressive physically when it comes to their emotions? I do think there's still more to it. And that it really comes down to, I believe, how we've been created. God hasn't made us kind of body and spirits that we can separate them so far into two separate entities. If anything, what makes us human is that we are this integrated sense of this visible and the invisible, and they actually inform each other as we live out this integrated unity. We see this, for example, when we win at the rugby. Yes, maybe some people are still sitting down and not too excited. But if you are excited, you punch the air, you give people high fives, you stand up, you celebrate. You're not choosing to do that. You are simply responding to what is going on in the more emotional side of you. On the other hand, it also works on the outside in. If you kick your toe, it puts you in a bad mood. Your body has informed your emotions. All this to say that we are more of an integrated being by design, and how then do we step back into that space? And really what I think God's heart for us is, when we think about that verse that says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Again, it's not all, what's my heart, what's my soul, let's stretch it out, let's divide it. No, with all of who you are. With your emotions, with your will, with your strength, with your heart, with your mind, with your body, with your soul. Love God. And so what does that look like? So here's what I don't think is a good thing for you to do, is to, the next time you're in church, is to almost unwillingly force yourself to do some of these things. Maybe a good place to start is to ask God to warm your heart. When we're singing these songs, we're singing beautiful truths about a beautiful, powerful, holy God. And so, Holy Spirit, capture my mind. Holy Spirit, capture my heart. We're not talking about emotionalism, which is kind of emotions devoid of truth. No, we're gazing on the truths of who God is, on the face of who God is. And my emotions are therefore stirred. And when my emotions are stirred, then let me move into a place where my body is kind of agreeing with what is going on in my heart, what is coming out of my mouth, what is going on in my mind. And this is something that one can grow into. I know for myself, I tend to, in my default nature, be more the stoic person. And I've had to really take this journey, and I've actually found it sometimes uncomfortable, but incredibly enriching. I'm less distracted. I'm more focused on worshiping God, and it just really feels like more of me is worshiping God. Is this something you have to do? I don't think this is something you have to do, but this is something we get to do as we live out this integrated reality of how God has made us.